3 years ago, the woman I thought I'd spend forever with walked out of my life without explanation. I was 32, successful, and completely shattered. I swore I'd never let her hurt me again. But last month, she showed up at my door at 2 a.m., rain-soaked and crying, begging for a second chance. What I did next surprised even me. And it changed everything. This is our story, raw, real, and absolutely worth the wait. If you've ever wondered whether love truly conquers all, stay with me. You're about to find out. My name is Sarah, and at 35, I thought I had my life figured out. Corporate lawyer, corner office, designer apartment overlooking the city. Everything looked perfect from the outside, but inside? I was still that broken woman who watched Emma pack her bags 3 years ago. That Emma Rodriguez had been my everything. We met at a friend's gallery opening when I was 29. She was the passionate artist with paint under her fingernails, and I was the uptight lawyer in a power suit. Opposites attract, they say, and God did we attract. For 3 incredible years, she filled my monochrome life with color I never knew existed. She taught me to see sunsets differently, to taste wine instead of just drinking it, to make love instead of just having sex. Emma showed me parts of myself I didn't know were there. I was planning to propose, had the ring and everything, when she disappeared from my life like morning mist. No explanation. No fight, no closure. Just a note on my pillow. I'm sorry, Sarah. I can't be what you need. Please don't look for me. The months that followed were the darkest of my life. I threw myself into work, built walls higher than skyscrapers, and convinced myself I was better off alone. I went to therapy, had a few meaningless relationships, and slowly rebuilt Sarah Martinez from the ground up, stronger, colder, untouchable. But late at night, when the city quieted and my defenses came down, I still wondered what I'd done wrong. What had I missed? Why wasn't I enough? Then came that rainy Tuesday night in October. I was working late, as usual, when my doorbell rang at 2:17 a.m. Through the peephole, I saw her, Emma, soaked to the bone, mascara running down her cheeks like black tears. 3 years older, somehow even more beautiful, and clearly in pain. Every rational part of me screamed to keep that door locked. Every lesson I'd learned about self-preservation told me to walk away. But when she looked up at the camera with those emerald eyes I'd never forgotten, whispering please, Sarah, I can explain everything. Something inside me cracked. I opened the door. I know I have no right to be here, she said, voice shaking. I know I destroyed us. But I need you to know the truth. About why I left. About what I've been through. About why I never stopped loving you. Standing there in my doorway, Emma looked fragile and fierce at the same time, like a hurricane that had finally found its center. And despite everything, despite 3 years of healing and moving on, I felt that old familiar pull. You have 5 minutes, I said, stepping aside. She smiled through her tears. I'll take it. Emma stepped into my apartment, and suddenly the space I'd carefully curated to erase all traces of her felt hollow. She looked around at my minimalist decor, so different from the warm, chaotic home we'd once shared, and I saw something like regret flash across her face. You changed. Everything, she said softly. You made that necessary, I replied. Wrapping my arms around myself, she nodded, accepting the blow. Sarah, I need to tell you about my mother. I stiffened. Emma's relationship with her family had always been complicated, but she'd rarely talked about it. All I knew was that her traditional Mexican Catholic parents had struggled with her sexuality, and she'd been supporting herself since 18. When I left you, it wasn't because I stopped loving you. It was because I got a call that my mother was dying. Stage 4 cancer, maybe 3 months to live. Emma's voice cracked. She said she wanted to see me one last time to make peace. But there was a condition. My heart began to race. She would only see me if I promised to try being straight, to give her the daughter she'd always wanted, even if it was just for a few months. She'd arranged for me to meet the son of her friend, a nice boy who knew about my past and was willing to help me find my way back to God. The words hit me like physical blows. So you chose her. I chose the woman who gave me life, even though it meant destroying mine, Emma whispered. I was terrified, Sarah, terrified of losing the only parent who might ever accept me, even partially. I convinced myself it would be temporary, that I could pretend for a few months and then come back to you. She moved closer, and I could smell her familiar perfume mixed with rain. But it wasn't a few months, was it? I asked. Emma shook her head, tears flowing freely now. She lived for 2 years. 2 years of pretending to be someone I wasn't, of dating Miguel, of going to church and playing the perfect daughter. Miguel was actually wonderful, gay himself, just trying to please his family too. We became best friends, both of us dying inside while our mothers planned a wedding we never intended to have. Did you marry him? The question scraped out of my throat. No. 3 days before the wedding, my mother died. Her last words to me were, I'm proud of the woman you've become, but I wasn't a woman anymore. Sarah, I was a ghost. I'd lost myself so completely that I didn't know how to find my way back to you. I spent another year in therapy, learning to forgive myself for choosing fear over love. She was close enough to touch now, and every cell in my body remembered what that touch meant. I'm not asking you to forgive me, she continued. I'm asking you to let me prove that the woman who loved you never really left. Looking at Emma standing in my living room, vulnerable and raw, I felt like I was witnessing a resurrection. The woman I'd loved was there beneath the pain, but she was different too, deeper, scarred, but somehow more authentic. Why now? I asked, why after all this time? Because I finally understand what love really means, she said. It's not just passion and butterflies and grand gestures. It's choosing someone every single day, even when it's hard. Even when your family doesn't understand. Even when the world tells you you're wrong. She took a shaky breath. I chose wrong before, Sarah. I chose fear and guilt and other people's expectations. But I'm choosing now. I'm choosing you. I wanted to believe her, but the walls I built were strong. You left me shattered, Emma. Do you have any idea what these 3 years have been like? I can imagine, she said quietly, because they were hell for me too. Every day I wanted to call you. Every night I dreamed about coming home to you. Miguel used to find me crying over old photos of us that I kept hidden in my jewelry box. Despite myself, I felt a crack in my armor. You kept photos? I kept everything. Your favorite coffee mug, the book of poetry you gave me for my birthday, the shirt you always stole from my closet. She smiled through her tears. I couldn't let go, even when I thought I'd lost you forever. She moved to the window, looking out at the city lights. I know I hurt you. I know trust isn't something you can just rebuild overnight. But Sarah, what we had, it was real. It was the most real thing in my life, and losing it nearly destroyed me. I joined her at the window, careful to maintain distance between us. What are you asking for exactly? A chance, she said simply. Not to pick up where we left off, too much has happened for that. But a chance to start over, to do this right. To prove that I'm not the scared girl who ran away anymore. We stood in silence for a moment, both of us staring out at the sleeping city. I could feel the pull between us, that magnetic connection that had never really disappeared. I have conditions, I said finally. Hope flickered in her eyes. Anything. Therapy. Together. I need to understand not just why you left, but why you think this time will be different. And we take it slow, glacially slow. I won't survive being abandoned again. Of course, she nodded eagerly. Whatever you need, And Emma, I turned to face her fully. If you ever put someone else's expectations above our relationship again, I won't give you a third chance. This is it. She stepped closer, close enough that I could see the flecks of gold in her green eyes. This is it, she agreed. I'm all in, Sarah, finally completely all in. 6 months later, I'm writing this from our new apartment. Not mine, not hers, but ours. It's filled with both my clean lines and Emma's artistic chaos. A perfect blend of who we are individually and who we're becoming together. The journey back to each other wasn't easy. Those first few weeks were like learning to walk again after a major injury. Every gesture, every conversation, every moment of intimacy had to be rebuilt from the ground up. We went to couples therapy twice a week, individual therapy once a week, and spent countless hours just talking. I learned about Emma's relationship with her culture, her faith, and her family in ways I never had before. She learned about the depth of abandonment issues her leaving had triggered in me. We both learned that love alone isn't enough. It takes courage, commitment, and constant choice. The first time she kissed me again was on a Tuesday evening in December. We were cooking dinner together, laughing over her terrible attempt at chopping onions, when she suddenly stopped and looked at me with such intensity that my breath caught. "What?" I asked. "I just realized I'm happy," she said wonderfully. Actually, genuinely happy. I haven't felt that in 3 years. When she kissed me, soft and tentative at first, then deeper as I responded, it felt like coming home and starting an adventure at the same time. All the love we'd shared, all the pain we'd endured, all the growth we'd done separately and together, it was all there in that kiss. We still have challenges. Emma struggles with guilt about the years we lost, and I still have moments of panic when she's late coming home. But we're building something stronger than what we had before, a love based on choice rather than just chemistry, on mature commitment rather than youthful passion. Last week, Emma had a gallery showing featuring her new series, Resurrection. The paintings chronicled her journey from our original love through her time away and back to our renewed relationship. The centerpiece was a painting of two women dancing in the rain, one in a business suit, one in paint-splattered clothes, both laughing with pure joy. "That's us," she whispered in my ear as we stood before it. That's who we're becoming. Standing there, watching people admire Emma's art, seeing the pride and love in her eyes when she looked at me, I understood something profound. Sometimes the best love stories aren't about never falling down. They're about learning to get back up together. Emma chose fear once. But every day since that rainy October night, she's chosen love. She's chosen me. And I'm choosing her right back. This is our second chance, and we're not wasting it. Love isn't always a fairy tale, beautiful humans. Sometimes it's messy, complicated, and requires the kind of courage that takes your breath away. Emma and I are proof that second chances can work, but only when both people are willing to do the hard work of growing up and showing up. What about you? Have you ever given love a second chance? Tell me your story in the comments below. I read every single one. And if this touched your heart, hit that like button and subscribe for more real talk about love, life, and everything in between. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Until next time, keep choosing love. Sarah.